Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel at Megan Abroad. Today's video is going to be me reacting to stereotypes about Germany as a expat. So I'm originally from Canada, but I lived in Germany for about 3 years. So you could say I might be qualified to give an opinion on these stereotypes. I think stereotypes are really interesting because they say that within every stereotype is a kernel of truth, but as you'll see in today's video, I have a list of common German stereotypes that I pulled from the internet, from everywhere from Quora to Wikipedia to random websites, and I think most of these will be pretty familiar to you guys. So let's get started into the video, and just a disclaimer that goes for any time you're talking about stereotypes. This is a generalization, so of course there's always going to be exceptions to the rule or individual cases where that's absolutely true or not true, so it's a generalization, take it with a grain of salt. And with that disclaimer out of the way, let's get started. Okay, so the first point is efficiency. And unfortunately, I'm gonna have to give this a rating of pretty much not true at all. Please don't come for me in the comments. I think when it comes down to efficiency, my experience with the German bureaucracy and just the level of complicated processes and rules, I mean, not just from the bureaucracy standpoint, but also in the society. Even in your apartment building, there will be a full list of rules you need to sign on, and those are, I think, maybe can help with some things. But then it gets to things where maybe the processes get convoluted or don't make sense, like when you're applying for a certain visa and you need a million different documents just to prove that you're qualified, and you need to, for example, sign up for a certain program online and you need to wait for 2 letters in the mail just to be able to sign up to prove that you're who you say you are. I could give a lot of different examples for this, and also there's many places in Germany that don't even accept any card payment or digital payment, cash only. Even many grocery stores that I visited in Hamburg didn't even have self-checkouts. So I would say, compared to especially Canada, which is a lot more focused on, yeah, go, be efficient, and let's make it as more simple, because we understand that when you have processes that are more complicated, the error rate is perhaps higher. On the plus side, I can say I think the reason why this works is because Germans are very prepared and they follow a lot of rules. So even if something's inefficient, the Germans will still follow this and deal with this. But in my opinion, this is not true at all. Okay, and then the second stereotype is about punctuality. This, I would say, is mostly true. Generally, if you have set a time, you set a termin with a German, they're gonna show up when they say they will. They might be maybe a couple of minutes late, so that's why I say it's not 100% true, but generally they're pretty reliable and will show up on time. And that's in work context, social context, for appointments. Generally, things are pretty punctual. But one big exception would be the Deutsche Bahn, which is the train system here in Germany. Yeah, the Germans themselves, I think, acknowledge how ironic this is, because it's almost always late, or yeah, cancelled or something like that. But I know the Germans are frustrated along with the rest of us. This is just one exception to the example. Okay, and another one is that the Germans are very strict and rule-oriented. And this kind of relates to the efficiency one, which I said was not true. I think this one is absolutely true, because, like I said, there can be a lot of different rules for things. You have rules in your apartment complex. When you sign on, you have a whole list of things you can and can't do. You have certain times of the day where you have Uhrzeit, also time where you have to be quiet and you can't make any noise. Yeah, the rules for signing up for things, for qualifications, you need to follow everything to the T, otherwise you will not get your desired result. And another great example that I think of all the time when I think about this is if you are at a pedestrian stoplight, so it says that you cannot cross, the Germans will follow that no matter what. Even if it's 3 a.m., there's no cars coming for miles away, the Germans will not cross. And this is so funny because I also would get used to this. And if you travel outside of Germany, in other parts of Europe, for example, obviously they're like, especially Paris, they're like crossing without even bothering to look at the signal, just look whether the cars are coming. And it kind of catches me off guard because I'm so used to the German way. I don't personally do this, but I know that there's even like a sign that says, yeah, be a good example for children and don't cross on red. So this one I just find really funny, and they do believe rules are important, but on the plus side, I actually think this can be a positive thing because everything's pretty standardized, everything's visible, you know what you're gonna get and you know what the expected behavior is. So it's not like some people get favored over others based on something intangible. Everything is very clearly spelled out for you. So on the negative side, of course, this can feel a bit restricting at times, but yeah, this one I would say is absolutely true. Okay, and the next one is an interesting one, which is that Germans are cold and unfriendly slash reserved slash difficult to make friends with. And this one I would say it depends. I lived in the north of Germany in Hamburg, which is even more so known for this stereotype even within Germany itself. Generally, people view the south as a bit more friendly and open and warm. But I would say why people have this perception is because in normal day-to-day situations, like when you encounter people in a cafe, in a bar, maybe just on the street, on transit, generally Germans will not approach you if they don't have anything to do with you. And this I think is different from a lot of societies, Canada as well, where even the other day, this lady was walking her dogs and she started talking to me about her dogs just randomly. And, you know, people make comments and will just talk to strangers. Germans don't really talk to strangers unless there's a specific need to do so. So the other thing is that I wasn't used to is even in bars and yeah, more social scenarios, people will really stick with their own groups and not kind of mix with strangers or people they don't know. But this does not mean that Germans are not friendly. By all means, I think it's the opposite, because they, for example, if you need help or you want something explained, they'll gladly explain it to you or help you out. They are some of the most helpful people I've ever met in my life. Germans are also great conversationalists. They are really interested in your life, especially in like another context where they might, you know, there might be more reason to mingle, like a work context or social context where they're friends of a friend. I don't think you have any problem talking to a German, but they will not just start up a random conversation. That's absolutely true. And so this for some cultures can seem a bit cold or unfriendly, but I think it's more just I'm staying in my lane. I don't need to have anything to do with this person, so yeah, I won't. Okay, and the next stereotype is that Germans love beer and are obsessed with Octoberfest. First of all, the Octoberfest thing, this is mainly in Bavaria. Other parts of Germany don't really celebrate this so much. And the love of beer is, I would say, somewhat true, but maybe less true than people imagine. Okay, but yes, German has a strong beer culture. That's absolutely true. And amazing beer for good reason. But I would say that doesn't mean that everybody drinks beer or that they drink so much beer. You can even look at the consumption statistics for alcohol. Germany is not at the top. And I think I met a lot of people in the younger generations who even don't drink at all because of health reasons or personal reasons. It's not to say that that's the only thing you can drink here. I mean, people drink wine or yeah, cocktails or whatever as well. So to some extent it's true and there is great beer here. That doesn't mean that it's taking over everything. Okay, and the next one is that Germans are obsessed with their cars / the Autobahn. I would say this is partly true, but at the same time, now all of these are partly true. So I think true to some extent, but not as true as even Canada, to be real with you. Like I mentioned in one of my past videos, about why I moved to Germany. In some parts, I think of US and Canada, it's almost impossible to get around without even having a car. But in Germany, the public transportation system is very well built out. Most of my friends in Hamburg didn't have a car because we were able to get around so easily with public transit. And I would say there were a couple people who are car fanatics, or a couple people who have a car for driving to work and that type of thing. And yes, the Autobahn is a thing, but generally I think it's also very difficult to get a driver's license. And I think Germans use it more as a tool to get from A to B. That's my perception, at least. Of course, there's a really strong car industry coming out of Germany. I think that's known worldwide, but that doesn't necessarily mean the Germans themselves are obsessed with driving or with cars. Yeah, so like I said, partly true on this one. Okay, the last stereotype that I'm gonna talk about is that Germans have no sense of humor. And I would say this one is absolutely false. Germans are pretty funny people, and I mean, there's some famous comedians that I really like. I'll put some up here. And then also I follow, for example, the late night show, Late Night Berlin, and some of the segments they do have me dying laughing. And even some of the comedic movies that I've seen. And even I would say in normal everyday context, whether it be work or day to day, Germans will make jokes. And I think the big difference is that it's all in German and it doesn't translate well to English. And not just the words themselves don't translate well to English, but the humor itself I don't think is very internationally appealing. I mean, you have some famous comedians who are, from other backgrounds and then do their comedy in English and they're funny. But I genuinely feel like German humor only makes sense if you really understand German culture, German norms, and the language itself. And I mean, I can think of a lot of examples, but I think like some of the German humor is based on this breaking expectations, and it's a little bit like, fuck, someone's mowing? Okay, I hope he's done. Okay, let's finish this up before he continues. So, as I was saying, German humor is kind of around breaking expectations, and also I would say they can also be quite self-deprecating. They know how to make fun of themselves and so on. But I can't quite explain this, but knowing the German culture, German language, and then seeing the type of jokes that they make, they just only make sense in that context, if that makes sense, which is why I think other cultures don't think they have a sense of humor, but they absolutely do. And I also think Germans are not usually so comfortable speaking in English or other languages, so they actually are not quite at the same level of comfort of making jokes or being humorous in English, maybe like other cultures that don't really care about that. So that's my take on the humor piece. And with that, that's the end of today's video. And if you have any opinions on the stereotypes that I've listed in this video, or you agree or disagree with me, I'd love to hear it in the comments below. And with that being said, let's wrap it up today. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye!